Բարև բոլորին, ողջունում եմ Երևանից, կանցնեմ անգլերենի, որտեվ հիմնական լսարանը այսօր անգլերենով է լսելու եւ նախ ուզում եմ շնորհակալություն հայտնել, որ բոլորդ միանում եք եւ խնդրել, որպեսզի կիսվենք ձեր էջերում, որպեսզի ինչքան հնարավոր շատ մարդ կարողանա եւ տեսնել եւ մասնակցել մեր քննարկմանը. Hello to everyone. I'm happy to welcome you from Yerevan with the Repat Armenia's team. I would like to ask everyone to share the live so that as many people can join us, and we expect you also to ask questions. It's not just a presentation. We really are looking for an interactive discussion. Before we start talking about Repat Armenia 2020 and 2021, plans for 2021, I would like to introduce our team. My name is Vartan Marashlan. I moved from Moscow 2010 and from Russia, and I'm executive director of Repat Armenia Foundation. And today we have Mariana Chovanyan, who moved from Belarus. She's our integrations manager. Florencia Nerguzian, she moved just recently from Uruguay and volunteered and helped us a lot in 2020 during these difficult times. And Zovak Solomonyan, she moved from Damascus, Kesap, Syria. She's also our integration manager. And Rima, you will be able to see her, but she's also a very important member of our team. She'll be moderating it. So today we would like to tell a little bit more about Repat Armenia, about what we were doing during the last almost 9 years, with a special focus on 2020, as well as our plans for 2021. Let me start with a brief introduction on Repat Armenia. So 12 like-minded people established this organization in 2012 in August, with a major goal and vision to attract and to promote bringing repatriation to Armenia. We were doing this against the trends, and the negative trends were almost all about corruption, migration, different type of challenges, misunderstanding between diaspora and the state. So we decided not to listen to anyone and just started this initiative because there was a repatriation taking place to Armenia, but we thought that it should be enforced, it should be supported, and there should be an institution which works directly with repatriates and provides assistance on a tete-a-tete basis. So we're a non-government organization. Quite often people think that we are a part of the government. We are not, and we were never being a part of the government, any of the governments, previous governments, but we are working closely with any public or private institution which really thinks that repatriation is important. So, but during the years, we also understood that just repatriation, physical move, is important, and it's the final task for our particular organization. But before it takes place, we really need also to work on diaspora's engagement and on psychological repatriation. So certain steps and certain programs that people should take into consideration before moving to Armenia and taking part, having a positive experience, valuable experience with Armenia. So as an organization, we have three major areas of work. The first is promoting repatriation, which is mostly about demystifying the move, providing information and practically useful tips about repatriation process, integration. We have several things which are quite well known nowadays. So it's Imagine Armenia Forum. We organize, especially during the last year, during this pandemic year, we organized quite a big number of also thematic panel discussions with the heavy involvement of repatriates and expats as panelists. We also do provide an opportunity for people who moved or planning to move to Armenia to run their own blogs on our website, which is in English and Russian, because most of the diaspora speaks those two languages. The second block is integration support. So as I mentioned, we work personally with anyone who's interested to move. We have a strong, good team which speaks fluently 6 languages, and also one of the peculiarities of our organization is that we understand very well repatriation, because most of us are repatriates from different countries, from different environments. And this also helps to provide more valuable and insightful information for potential repatriates. I'm glad to say that one of the biggest achievements that we've done is the Armenian Repatriation Network, an ecosystem closed Facebook group. By the way, just recently we managed to break 10,000 members level. So now we are growing in bigger numbers, and hopefully it will continue increasing. We organizing quite a big number of integration events or community building events. During pandemic, we had to change that model, and my team members will tell a little bit more about this. We also developed special programs for repatriates or expatriates who live here, related to health insurance with Nairi Insurance Company, and a special package with Ameria Bank, including a big number of discounts at not only Repat-owned, but also Repat-owned companies and organizations. And the last block, which is the most challenging, and hopefully this year we'll be able to have a breakthrough, is developing pro-repatriation environment. So we are the only non-government organization working on the law on repatriation as a part of the official working group. We do regularly provide policy recommendations because we have a big community of repats. We also help them, we also developed and organize different type of surveys, researches in order to introduce those challenges which repatriates are facing with, and also to come up with practical suggestions on what should be changed and what should be done better from the government point of view. I won't tell a lot of detailed information because I think that this is not a report type of meeting, but I just want for you to understand who applies to Repat Armenia and to see the dynamics. We had around 400 applications when we started Repat Armenia, mostly from Syria. It coincided with the crisis in Syria. Now we have around 850 applicants per year, out of which approximately half of them are already physically in Armenia, half of them consider moving to Armenia. And the geography has changed quite substantially, though the profile hasn't changed very much. So we are talking mostly about people from 20 to 35 years old, with a good education, with interesting ideas. But the geography, as you might see, has changed quite a lot. So in the first years, we had around half of our applicants were from Syria. Then USA and Russia would be the second and the third. In 2018, there was a change, and we saw that mostly we had a growing number of applicants from Russia and Lebanon. In 2020, Lebanon was number one, and most of the applications, by the way, were received before and during and slightly after the blast in Beirut. So that's about whom we are working with on a regular basis. By the way, last year we also had a very intensive changes in terms of the audience. We've increased our live events. More than 500,000 people viewed our live events, and more than 120,000 people were part of our first online Imagine Armenia forum, especially designed for Lebanese Armenians. It took place in July before the blast in Beirut. So I would like also maybe to concentrate on a thing which is slightly theoretical, but I think it's important for an understanding. It's the diaspora's engagement concept, which is an international one. So if you look at this scheme, you will see that the group, different type of diaspora's engagement can be split into three blocks. The lowest three is low impact and low risk, which is tourism, remittances, and charity. And I think diaspora in general was more or less effective in this type of collaboration or engagement with Armenia. The second three is social and business initiatives, when repats or diasporans support or initiate those initiatives in Armenia. Investments in export promotion, innovations and skill transfer, which is mid-level risk and mid-level of impact on Armenia's development. And the highest three are lobbying and increasing international influence, participation of diaspora and repatriates in institutional developments and reforms, and the last one and the top one is physical move, repatriation. So I think that this catastrophe, which as a nation we are going through now, and it is not complete, unfortunately, with the existing severe political crisis and many uncertainties related to the regional development, whatever, we really need to upgrade the relations between Armenia and diaspora, especially in the second and third block. And here We also have a couple of problems which more or less have been solved in 2018 and 19, but now they are back again. It's the trust. The level of trust really went very down again, very deep, rapidly went down, and we need to build up the trust again, but based mostly on micro level initiatives and successes, and the delegation of power. This was a big problem for the entire Armenian nation and Armenian state for the whole period of 30 years after recovering independence, which means that in general, if you really want diaspora to be fully engaged with your country, you need to delegate political and economic power with the diaspora. This is challenging, but I think that the catastrophe which we're now going through, the one thing which is absolutely clear, that we don't have any other options but to avoid doing manipulations and actually fooling ourselves and others about diaspora-state relations. We really need to upgrade it, and also to delegate those things to the diaspora so that it is fully participating in reconstruction of our country's security in all of its aspects. So now I'll pass the word to my colleagues. I just want to mention that last year was challenging not only for Repat Armenia, but for the entire nation, but also for the world, partially because of the COVID, which completely changed the way of thinking, the way of working for millions of people all over the world. So I would like to pass here the word to my colleague, Zovak. Okay.
Thank you, Vartan. As Vartan mentioned, I am Zovak, the integration manager of Repat Armenia, and I moved from Syria in 2014. So as Vartan was talking, this year, 2020 was really challenging for us, especially when the COVID-19 started and we had to go to a lockdown in March, and our plan basically changed. We stopped having one-on-one consultation, orientation session with repats, and we started doing it online, regardless of having the online sessions. But this was a bit different since everyone were used to meet with us, talk with us, ask for consultation. But we made it work. Since everything is online right now, we made that also work. Not just that, we also canceled our events that repats were used to, the mix and mingle and meet and greet. And why we canceled that, we have decided to come up with a different format that engage the community members. And one of them, the series of Repat Talk, we started this series when we also had, during this talks, we had 8 speakers from our community members. They were sharing about their experience with the lockdown. And one of them, it was really interesting, one of our speakers from Russia, Mariam Kocharian, actually she moved to Armenia, repatriated during the lockdown. And her insights regarding the pandemic in general, or repatriation during the pandemic, was very interesting. And despite that, we thought it could be a bit difficult to engage our community online. It was nice that we had almost 254,000 views or audience who engaged with the speakers. Not just that, we also canceled one of the most important events for Repat Armenia, was the Imagine Armenia forums that we used to do it every year, like 3 times or 4 times, depends. And since majority of our repats or potential repats were from Lebanon, we realized that it's really, we have to act. So that's how we decided to do the Imagine Armenia Forum Lebanon online. Luckily, we had, like, it was a big forum, and this was the first time, and it was very successful. We had a lot of speakers. There were 31 speakers from Lebanon, and 7 panel discussions for 2 days. It was pretty engaging, and after that we also had a lot of repats from Lebanon, or like potential repats basically, who contacted us, reached out to us. Even through pandemic, they were like thinking to move to Armenia, to take the step once the borders were open. So basically, after the forum, we also, since one of the most important aspects for repatriation, especially for Lebanese Armenian, and in general, all repats were the employment. And since the pandemic affected the employment, like so many repats, they were out of jobs, and some of them, they had difficulties to find jobs in Armenia. We decided to provide tips for the repats, and that's how we had another event, employment tips in Armenia. We included 6 speakers who were HR specialists and recruiters, one of the best in the Armenian market. They provided tips for repats in general, how to benefit from recruitment platforms in Armenia, what are the mistakes that they usually do, how to start the job searching process, and how to consider working remotely, since like right now it's part of us, remote jobs are part of us. All these tips were included, and it was pretty engaging. So technically that's how we focused on it. And after the employment, when we did the event, the Lebanon blast happened. And I want to give my, Mariana, would you like to speak about it a bit? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, I should start with the introduction of myself again. My name is Mariana Cebanyan. I'm Community and Integration Manager of Repat Armenia Foundation. I moved to Armenia in 2019. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for joining us. So, as Tovak already mentioned, during 2020, we had a lot of applicants from Lebanon applying to us for repatriation advice and integration support. And actually, the Lebanon blast was a turning point for us to concentrate our major efforts in supporting the Lebanese Armenians in a more tangible way for those who were considering moving to Armenia. And I also want to mention that, shockingly enough, just a few hours before the tragedy in Lebanon and Beirut, Tovak welcomed 90 repats from Lebanon who arrived in Armenia. And actually, no one would imagine that this tragedy would happen. At that time, our primary task was to get in touch with the repats, with the potential repats from Lebanon who were in touch with us during the year, to follow up with them and to ask how we could help them. During August, only more than 140 potential repats from Lebanon applied to us via different sources of communication, emails, calls, and we were ready for them. We were available 24/7 and did our best to support these people in their integration support and employment guidance.
We also were happy to see like our community members, they immediately joined effort to help basically Lebanese Armenians in terms of employment. And from our community members were Narek Asmitian, the co-founder of Mital and technical recruiter, as well as Narin Atamian from Lebanon. She's an HR specialist who is living in Armenia. They both joined force efforts, and they started, they basically provided a platform where local companies offered their jobs through this platform. So actually, they had 200 vacancies on their table. And from us, we tried to support both Narin and Narek with their initiative by sending the information about the platform and sending it to Lebanese Armenians to apply. And this platform also included the remote jobs. Also, we're happy to see one of our community members, Varujan Avedikian, who is a repat himself from Lebanon, if I'm not mistaken. And he's also an outstanding lawyer, as well as the majority of people, they know him as the director of 1000 Plus Fund. He also encouraged the concept of hiring Lebanese Armenians, encouraged the local companies. Also, he was engaged through hiring Lebanese Armenians, offering jobs for them. This was regarding the employment, but as Mariana mentioned, that we started with the Diaspora High Commissioner's Office. We used to, when we went to the airport to welcome the Lebanese Armenians, provide them information that they need regarding their integration process, or so that they basically to reach out to us. And one of we also did that after the blast. Actively, we were going to the airport every week. Every time there was a flight from Lebanon, we were welcoming him, providing them with the assistance they need. And immediately after that, they started reaching out to us. And I was really happy to see some of the potential repats that they were already in touch with me in the flights, and how they took the step and moved to Armenia. That was a blessing, I can say, and finally they are in Armenia. So yeah, that's how this was one of the things that we have done. We were like actively doing it after the blast. Mariana, would you like to continue?
Yeah, I would like to mention one thing. Since there was a huge problem, a huge demand for the housing, for the accommodation for the coming Lebanese Armenians, our community members mobilized their efforts, and there were some people who were offering free accommodations for these people, and actually they did their best to find places at affordable prices. So we are really thankful to all of them for this support and for being actively involved in this matter.
Also, I forgot to mention that a lot of repats from Lebanon, they were concerns about the education. And it was nice that we have the Armenia Repatriation Network, where our members can share from their experience, where they can, which schools are the best for Lebanese Armenians, especially their education system is a bit different than Armenia. They're focused more on French and English languages. This was one of the aspects, I think, Mariana, that our members in the network were active. Also, as for the employment, which is again another challenge, it's the most challenging aspect of the integration. Basically, our community members, as I mentioned, Narek and Narin, they did a great job, and we tried to support them. But when we realized that the majority of the jobs were mostly focused on the IT field, we decided, in collaboration with Diaspora High Commissioner's Office, to launch a program, employment support program, where we try to be the matchmakers between like the local companies and the Lebanese Armenians. I would like to mention as well, we were working closely with our partners from Hayran Adar's office, who are also actively trying to help the Lebanese Armenians in their integration process. Through our program, basically, we received over 600 CVs and over like 400 CVs sent through us to the companies who joined our campaign. And I can say 10% of them got hired through the program, and with the resources that we provided for our repats or Lebanese Armenians. But there is something that I won't mention, some external factors that was actively affecting the program. Well, one of them were the fact that majority of the applicants are still in Lebanon, which is a bit hard for the companies here to hire, especially during the COVID, and especially when the job is not remotely. So, and the other ones is the fact that some of the applicants, they don't have residency and citizenship. This is also a bit hard for the companies because the work permit process, applying for work permit requires a lot of time and process. That's why this is another aspect that affects on the employment. And there's one more thing that happened when we launched the program. It was the hardest thing I think for all of us. The war started, Artsakh war started, and it was really hard during the employment, and everything was happening in Artsakh and Armenia. So, and I think Mariana and Flor will be better when they talk what happened during that and how our community reacted.
Thank you, Torjan. Yes, COVID-19 and Lebanon blast, they were major challenges for us during the year, but undoubtedly the Artsakh war hit us the most. And we can never be thankful enough to our soldiers, our defenders, who were fighting on the front line, and they actually became our bulletproof vests. And due to them, we are now able to have this live. And we are very thankful to the soldiers and their families. Actually, they were doing their job in the front line, and we here were very actively engaged in various initiatives in the Tigung. From the very first days of the war, our community members started their own initiatives, humanitarian ones and social ones, from small to large. During the meetings with them and during the constant communication online, we identified 14 major initiatives, and I can divide them in several groups. The first one is humanitarian aid, distribution of food parcels, medicines, hygiene products. The second is concentrated on education support, because a lot of children were deprived of the right to education, psychological support, art therapy, and the third direction was supporting our soldiers. It is also important to mention that currently there are a lot of initiatives still ongoing, still active, and they have scaled up their activities, which is really good. During these hard days, our amazing Florencia Narkisian was here with us, supporting our initiatives, and she did an incredible job helping to them. Actually, I'm now giving the floor to Florencia. Florencia, John.
Buenas everybody. I'm Florencia Nargisian. I'm from Uruguay. I've repatriated to Hayastan this year, though last year I came here working as a volunteer in Birthright, and then is where I started working as a volunteer also in Repat Armenia. Well, I have to say this is a very important organization who open me their arms, their hearts, and make me feel part of them, and make me work with them in a very comfortable way. So to start with, I was working as a volunteer. I started working in Repat before the war, and when everything started happening, the Repat team started joining the community leaders who started doing initiatives, trying to create a better impact, organized, working all together somehow. So for me, it was a little bit weird, because coming from a different society which has no contact with war, sometimes it was difficult to understand everything. Moreover, that we had several activities that involved working from Repat with different areas. In one area, we started working by spreading useful information. This meant that we did the translation on official tweets on several languages, so this could be shared on the diaspora and not only understood by the Armenian people, but also by the non-Armenian people. That's why we in Repat designated different community leaders that we repatriated here, but still translated those things into their own language. So this could reach, let's say, worldwide attention. Also, we created audiovisual materials to support this group of expats and Repat that created their own initiatives because of the war. And with that, the idea was to promulgate their activities, show the people how can they support them, and also give the example that there were normal people that started with one idea and with their own, let's say, initiative, they could reach a lot of people and do a lot of help. Also connected to that, Repat decided to do a live Q&A, also to continue spreading the word of these leaders' work when we did several interviews to those leaders. So not only they could tell what they're doing, how are they doing, how did they started everything, and people could also start asking them questions so they could understand more, and that showed a lot of transparency in which all these organizations would based on. Also, in this way, those people could, identify which were the organization, show and learn how they can help them economically or in any other ways, and most important, as I said before, to get it as an example that they can be able to do their own work and open their organization no matter where they are, because the help was so much needed and effectively is needed also right now, that everyone can do something when they have the idea and when they have the intentions. So all over, that was what we did, and Repat is continuing working with all those people. So if you are able to keep in contact with these people, reach them and help them, this is very important to Armenia right now. Vartan, now I give you the word.
Thank you. Yeah, now this is the last slide. I'll try to introduce what our thoughts and our plans are for 2021, but I would also like to emphasize that we are more than open for discussions, for collaboration with different networks and people, because the tasks are really huge. They are extremely important, and the timing is very important as well. So when we were trying with the team to think about things, the feelings that as repatriates we living here feel, I think that there are three things that we really need to concentrate on strengthening. The first is the feeling of security, which is obviously important for anyone who lives in Armenia today. So how to increase the level of security, not only in terms of feeling, but also in terms of actions. The second is solidarity, so feeling a part of a society, feeling a part of the nation, feeling a part of sharing the pain, sharing the difficulties, and also helping those who are in need and who sacrifice their lives, who sacrifice their healths in order to secure everyone who's living in Armenia and actually the diaspora as well. And the third is stability. So there are a lot of uncertainty factors now, globally, locally, politically, economically, and anything that will help us to strengthen and to develop stability is also important. So if we divide our plans, I'm talking about things which are out of our regular work. In any case, we'll continue working with repatriates, we'll continue doing our promotional content development, video or written, we'll continue working on the law on repatriation, other aspects. I'm talking about new ideas and new plans, because definitely people and organizations shouldn't live in the mode business as usual. I mean, the last year was really a shock. The shock, if we don't adjust to the shock, if we don't change ourselves, I think we'll have more and more problems. But if we change ourselves, we can also overcome those problems and finally resolve many of those issues which our nation is having for not only for like tens of years, but maybe hundreds or thousands of years. So the first is rethinking Armenia's security challenges. As I mentioned, Repat Armenia is a very collaborative structure. We don't want to develop everything on our own. We would appreciate collaborating with others. So here, what we're looking for is a strong collaboration with Union of IT Enterprises, with WOMA, which is a very good training, military voluntary training course for diasporans, for repatriates to take part in different ways. This is definitely a 100+ fund or Armenian Servicemen Insurance Fund. So the solidarity is that if you're not even employed with the local companies paying a tax, you can regularly and long-term contribute to the fund. By that, supporting the families of wounded and fallen soldiers, fallen heroes. It's our foundation with its programs related to military sector development. It's definitely many other initiatives that most of you maybe have never heard of. And we are not planning to develop our own programs, but we will definitely try to cooperate with this and other programs in order to make Armenia more secure. The second is communities impactful initiatives. So Florencia has already mentioned that during the war and after the war, we have very bright repats and expats, by the way. Expats are doing fantastic work. The numbers is very small for Armenia, but the impact is really very positive. So through different means, as Repat Armenia will try to help those initiatives to grow, to scale up, and to become more and more successful. And I think in the period of mistrust, which exists now, definitely it exists on a macro level, supporting micro projects can be a very important thing to recover the trust. And in this sense, repatriates and expats have a unique positioning because they are both from the diaspora, but they also understand Armenia, and the level of trust naturally is higher towards those people and their initiatives. And the third is an outsourced Armenia. By the way, I've mentioned by Red those initiatives which we are not planning to do, but we would fully encourage others to implement, and we will be more than happy to join. So outsourced Armenia's ideas as follows. For sure, now there's a big economic challenge in Armenia, and creating remote jobs, hiring from the diaspora of local professions, not only from IT sector. For example, making Armenia as the market for studying Western Armenian. We have many people who moved from Lebanon, Syria, who are fluent native Western Armenian speakers from other communities, and they can become tutors, they can become teachers for those who are living abroad. So it's both preserving your identity in the diaspora, but also supporting those families here. Not supporting, but actually appreciating their job and creating this industry for learning Western Armenian or Eastern Armenian from Armenia. And many other initiatives. We had quite many applications or requests, inquiries from diasporans with this idea, but we need someone, an organization, a network to create the product and to structure it, to increase the outsourcing opportunities for locals and diasporans, repats living in Armenia for a bigger market. The second is focusing on diaspora's engagement. We had the idea of creating Engage Armenia platform for years now, and the thing is that a lot of people kind of ask this question during our Imagine Armenia forums or after, especially during and after the war, how can I be engaged? So what can I do? So we really want to develop a platform where all major, the most successful, the most professional initiatives will be mentioned, and where with a couple of clicks you'll be able to find all volunteering or internship courses in Armenia, or language programs, or studying in Armenia opportunities, or economic initiatives in one place. And we'll definitely happy also to establish partnership with other organizations and networks interested in this idea. Matchmaking Facility is another challenge, which we are still thinking whether we can organize it or we should do it with someone else. But the thing is that matchmaking is extremely important. We have many bright professionals abroad, and that after the war especially, they would like to be connected with the relevant professional or societal organizations in Armenia, not only to provide financial support, but also to share with their experience, to connect with their networks, to open opportunities for exports or investments or whatever. So we really need to upgrade the way the nation meets this challenge, because now how it works purely on a manual regime. When it fully depends on whether I know somebody or I don't know somebody or an organization. So it works on a manual regime, and it should be really upgraded, because a lot of things, and the Armenian future also depends on this. And the third block is, on the second block, I also would like to mention such opportunities as Igor's program, which is run by a High Commissioner's office. And now they have an open call. So if you want to come and try yourself in a public sector to work in public institutions for 1 year, you have this brilliant opportunity. And the third block is upgrading repatriation environment. The loan repatriation, which is under the development for the last 10 years, and it's still not there. I think that this year it should be complete in any case, because it's important to have it. It's important to finalize, identify who's repatriate, to understand which public institution is responsible for repatriation, and eventually to understand the integration package, the minimum package that the government should provide, and provide it on a good level, on a with good quality. Then the professional repatriation agenda. We got the first question about how do we envision a repatriation process in 2021? Will the numbers grow or will become less? From our experience, the way we see it in the beginning of 2021, the numbers will decrease from my point of view, and I think it shouldn't surprise anyone. But at the same time, let's call it not the quality, but we will have more people who are professionals and would like to meet to Armenia because of the timing, because of the importance of doing it right now. So most probably we'll have less applicants from Middle East or any other countries in the world where there's an instability, there are challenges, because it's understandable. People don't want to change one instability to another instability. If they have sustainability challenges, if they have vulnerabilities, well, maybe in this sense, Armenia won't be the first choice. But definitely we have a much bigger number of applicants from Russia, from USA, and a couple of other countries. And our partner organization, Birthright Armenia, who's doing a great job in bringing volunteers and people who would like to have internship in Armenia. As far as I know, the number has increased dramatically. So people who would like to consider trying themselves in Armenia, contributing to Armenia through volunteering and internship, there's definitely an increase, at least twice, as far as I know, or even more. And the last one, again, it's not our project, but I think it's a great idea, and we are fully supportive of it, is Integration Support Center. This is the idea of the High Commissioner's Office. They are planning to launch it in this year in order to create finally a one-stop shop or one-window facility where all repatriates, potential repatriates, will be able to deal with public-related processes in one place. And hopefully they will be sitting next to us, the same building. So we will be able, as Repat Armenia, to concentrate more on soft landing, on different aspects of your integration, on employment, on doing a business in Armenia, on schools, on connecting you with experienced repats, while the Integration Center will take most of those kind of public processes under their supervision. I think that's all for now. I'll now get out of the shared screen volume format, and we also have a question. What are the possibilities of creating bridges for diaspora engagement with Artsakh? How can diaspora members move to Artsakh for a short period of time or to repatriate in order to bring their contribution intellectual to the region? I think it's a great topic. Maybe I'll start, and then my colleagues, if they would like to contribute, they will contribute. So we went to Artsakh with our team members, with Mariana and Rima, who you won't be able to see, a couple of weeks ago. I think it was very important for us psychologically to understand and see how things are developing in place. And I must say that we've met with several repatriates there, we've met with several potential repatriates who are moving to Artsakh now. And those repatriates are from USA and Russia mostly, and moving not only to Stepanaker, but also to Martuni and a couple of other locations. I think it's extremely important to facilitate and to support the repatriates who are ready to move to Artsakh, but also to the border villagers of Armenia, especially in Syunik region, and to help them in a sustainable way so that they can go and become emissaries, can become natural connectors of diaspora to those communities under threat, communities which are facing challenges as a frontline village, as a frontline city, and there are some opportunities. We are happy to discuss how can we develop maybe special programs or special support facilities for this type of people. But at the moment, if you are interested in moving to Artsakh, mid-term, short-term, or long-term, just get in touch with us. We'll try to work personally with you because we are also very well connected with several public institutions in place and with other donor organizations which are planning to expand their activities in Artsakh. I think this is one of the most important things which should be done in 2021 as well. Anyone wants to contribute or to add? Mariana, maybe you, because you were part of a team in Artsakh.
Yes, I was there with our team and I was really touched, fascinated, and I was extremely surprised by the level of, people were like Artsakhis. I mean, they were strong. They were doing everything possible to continue their work, to create, to live as usual. And I think we should do everything possible to support them and not to give up. And if you want to repatriate to either Armenia or Artsakh, you have to do it, and you have our support. You can always turn to us, and we will do our best to connect you with the relevant authorities, projects, programs, initiatives active in place. Because currently in Artsakh there are a lot of NGOs actively working there, and we can connect you with them, also with as I already mentioned, with the authorities as well. So of course it's up to you. We cannot urge you to come, but I think that the physical move is very important in these days, in these hard days, and the impact will be much bigger than being far from Armenia and Artsakh. But again, it's up to you. But from my point of view, and I can share that as for me, when I was moving to Armenia, I was feeling that I need Armenia more than Armenia needs more us. So basically, that's it. I think, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask Florența, because she's coming to Armenia from a very remote community, which is naturally not very well integrated with Armenia. We really appreciate that she moved to Armenia, by the way, very quickly. When she left our office in the end of the last year, I think, yeah, she kind of said that I'm planning to return. And we thought, okay, maybe she'll come in a couple of years then. But now she got a job and she moved to Armenia almost 1 or 2 months after she left, which was surprisingly positive, surprisingly good. So why do you think it's important to consider repatriation for people living in South America, for example? And what exactly is something which moved you, and why you decided to move to Armenia this year, especially after the war?
So, of course, the most valuable thing is in South America, at least the people who are active in the community, we were, as in the rest of the world, raised as Armenians with Armenian culture, going to the Armenian institutions. So being here is not that difficult for us or different for us. It's actually really close to us, the feeling of how we feel here, than how we feel home. For me, since every time I came, I felt home. And once I was here doing my volunteering process and living here, I felt like I was at home. I think not only in South America, but in the rest of the world, this is a very important time to repatriate to Armenia, because it's a demand, and I think it's something as we Armenians we need to do because of all what Armenia had given to us. We all grew up in different institutions. We all grew up knowing the songs, learning in our schools. So we are not that different on the culture. So what I'm here, so for what is here, and we have to be a little bit more empathic. So we are saying, oh, we are Armenia, we work with Armenia, we work for Armenia. Okay, now is the moment we have to get really empathic and understand Armenia is having these issues. How can we help Armenia? It's perfect, and I think it's great. Each institution and the diaspora works in their own country. It's very important also because there is a very huge job they have to do with their governments to make all this stop. But still, they have the community leaders and the ones who have the possibility of come and continue their work, their professions, and everything from here. They should come. This is for me. I'm not working in my profession. I'm starting a new job, which has nothing to do. But still, this is an opportunity to learn, to support the Armenian society, develop the market, and not everyone can do that. And being able to do that and being part of that, I think will give everyone a sense of belonging somewhere and a self-respect, because helping, of course, is in the short term, it's like a very big seed, let's say, but everything is important. Each person is important, no matter what they do, it is very important. So sometimes maybe if you are from South America, that is so far away that it may be difficult, but once you're here and once you take that decision, I think you can regret it.
Thank you, Florence. I'd like to ask Zolak, before giving floor to Zolak, I just want to mention that we did a survey 5 years ago, and we were asking about the reasons, what would you make you to leave Armenia? We were 700 repats took part in that survey. And yeah, I mean, mostly people were mentioning economic reasons. So because of the economic reasons, if they won't be able to keep their families here or have enough income, then they would have been forced to leave. And only 5% of all repatriates during that survey mentioned that if there would be a large-scale war, they would consider leaving the country. I think from that perspective, it's also important to encourage repatriation, because in general, people who move to the homeland, they do it by choice. And if they do it by choice, they basically take the risks and understand the risks the way they are, and they are ready to cope with those risks because they feel a part of the country, because they want to be a part of the country. From our team, I think only Zolak is the person who experienced war in Syria before moving to Armenia. And as far as I could say, in Artsakh, by the way, we also met with a couple of Syrian Armenians who moved to Artsakh. And the family, which is now running cafe, they've lost quite a lot of assets in liberated territories, which are now not under Armenian control, plantations. But nevertheless, they were positive, and we could clearly see that even the fact that the Syrian Armenian family with their kids haven't left Stepanakert during the war, it made many locals to stay there, because they couldn't, like, they were saying, like, how can we leave our own city or our own country if this family of Syrian Armenians is still here? So as far as I know, many Lebanese Armenians and Syrian Armenians, though they've also experienced the war and instability, but they haven't changed their mind just based on the fact that the war was taking place in Armenia. So Zolak, it was a little bit long from my side. So what were your kind of feelings during the war and after the war?
Artam, can you specifically ask your question, because I barely can hear what you're saying. So basically, let me say it this way. In the beginning, when the Artsakh war started, basically, I relived my entire memories from war. And yes, I was one of the Syrian Armenians who moved to Armenia just to escape from the war. And yes, after a while, I changed my opinion about Armenia after I saw the opportunities, and I kind of became more connected to my country because I didn't know much about Armenia. And Armenia for me was like any other diaspora, Ararat, Sevan Lake. And after that, I consider myself repat because I saw how life is. I started to reconnect with my roots. And when the war happened, I didn't know that I'm gonna relive that feelings in the beginning. And yes, I kind of had a bit stressful moments, panic attacks, but this time was a bit different. This time it was not just I was not the only Syrian Armenian here, and there were a lot of Syrian Armenians already moved to Armenia and they were been living here. And I had this maybe talk with them if they ever considers to move or not if the war continues. But luckily, I think not just me, also majority of Syrian Armenians were like, no, this is our home, this is our country. And here is the thing that you feel when it comes to your identity. So that regardless how scary it was maybe for us specifically who lived the war, or how traumatizing it is, you just don't consider to leave the country and to live somewhere else. Here it was nice to see everyone were reunited, and us as well. And I was happy that through Repat Armenia I was contributing to be the connection between the diasporas and also the Armenians here, the locals, and our initiatives, everyone who were supporting Artsakh. In this case, it was a bit different. And yes, true that I didn't come with you to Artsakh for the trip, but next time I will join. But yes, I promise I will join. But this is the thing that here is a different, is related to your home. This is your country. And if we leave right now, like Armenia we won't survive. This is the thing, regardless of how much we're afraid or we're living our traumas, this is the only way to overcome the fear, overcome every trauma that we had. This is the only way. And I still I'm not changing my mind, and I'm happy that a lot of people still interested in repatriation. And during the war, a lot of diasporas, including my friends as well, they came to Armenia and they started doing the initiatives from all over the world without being afraid what if something happens, or even if they have the ability to leave the country with their foreign passports, they were like, no, this is our country and we will stay and try to fight. Because yes, even if we don't go and fight like physically, we can do so many other things. And that's why I was happy that Syrian Armenians they moved to Artsakh, and right now they also even they would like to relive there. So yeah, pretty much this is it.
Thank you. I think we'll try to summarize what we've discussed today. Hopefully people will apply to us for different reasons, for repatriation, for diaspora's engagement, for their rethinking of their connection with homeland, or even expats if they're interested in Armenia. We are more than happy to assist, to engage, to help. I want just to mention a couple of things. Actually, what has happened to us in 2020 is a big shock, but we need really to make these lessons learned, and it's an opportunity to rethink and change and fix those many problems and those many mistakes that we did for tens and hundreds of years. I know that the results of the war, it's not even defeat, it's a capitulation. For some part of Armenians living in Armenia, they will decide to leave the country. We will have migration, this is obvious. We'll have people in the diaspora who will say that I don't want to have anything in common with Armenia or with Armenians. I'm stepping aside. And that's also understandable. But at the same time, we have a big increase in the number of people who understand that they shouldn't live the way they lived before, and they should spend tens, hundreds of times more efforts in different ways in order to help the nation to get out of the situation. Not necessarily through physical move, but also through the right engagement, with the right initiatives, with the right people. And I think that we really need to concentrate in 2021 on developing this ecosystem, in developing this mode, in supporting those people who are taking the bigger risk, who are taking the bigger role in the process. So if somebody is living in a border village in Artsakh or Sunnik region or Armenia, he should get a support from someone who lives in Yerevan. the guy who lives in Yerevan needs to get support from those who live in the diaspora. When I'm saying support, it doesn't mean benevolent activities, not at all. It should be a well thought and designed system where the one who takes the bigger risk and the biggest responsibility for the future of the nation, for me, the future of the nation is the future of the Armenian state as well, he gets a full-scale support. Not a small support, but a full-scale support. And once again, we are more than happy to interact with as many of you as possible. If you have interesting ideas that we haven't mentioned, more than happy to discuss. If you want to be engaged with our programs, more than happy to support. If you want to be a part of other programs that are our partners or our friends, more than happy to connect. So let's spend fruitfully this year and to try to fix those many problems that we have now so that we have a better Armenia in 2022 and forthcoming many years. Շնորհակալություն բոլորիդ, and we'll meet again. We are planning to organize a big number of interesting and important discussions on different aspects of repatriation and diaspora's engagement during 2021. See you.